It's a wet Saturday at the shop, and Nick is trying to get a few cars finished up and out of his way.
I'm having a big dilemma with this one. He came here because he had no spark. But we changed the distributor, got it going, but he always has a spark. But the problem is the fuel, it floods. You see this carburetor? This is the carburetor he came with. It keeps flooding, right? Keeps flooding. So I changed the needle and seats. Guess what? It still floods. I adjusted the floats, it still floods. So he had a Holley mechanical fuel pump. You don't need a regulator for that, right? It goes to 7 pounds, 8 pounds. I installed a regulator with a fuel gauge. I brought it down to 5 pounds. And guess what? It still floods. You come to a stop sign, you see the carburetor fill up to the top. So then what do? So guess what I did? I put another carburetor, Elderbrock. Guess what it did? Same thing, 100%. Then I said, you know what, maybe we'll take off the Holley pump and put a regular Carter fuel pump, mechanical. Yes. I put it on. Guess what? Same thing. 2 different carburetors, 2 different pumps have the same story. I even installed a regulator. I removed the gas cap in case it builds up pressure in the tank. I did everything. It just keeps flooding. Bizarre, right?
Very bizarre.
So what do you think? Put a Holley? 2 Carters, man. And the other Carter, I'm sorry, not the Carter, the Elderbrock. The other Elderbrock I used on the dyno, I never had any issues. I put on this car, it got flooded. You know what, I'm gonna try a Holley, just for fun.
Yeah.
What else can keep the pressure? Something's boosting the pressure? What? Mechanical pump, no electric pump. It's only mechanical. I even put a regulator to bring it out to 5 pounds. It should not flood out. You have to see the gas. You know when you turn it off, when it stalls, you see the carburetor, the floats, the ventures fill up with fuel, all into the intake manifold. Then you gotta take out all the plugs, crank out the fuel, everything to get it started again. You know what? I'm gonna go back inside and work on the 64 Rambler, change the set of points, get that car running, and at least we have 1 car running out of 2. Sounds like a good idea.
Sometimes a car will throw a few twists at Nick as he works to track down a problem. Sometimes he'll discover new problems along the way. He's not going to quit until he makes his customers happy. But when one job gets frustrating, Nick always has another that needs his attention too. Here's a 1964 Rambler Classic 660 from American Motors.
1964, look how clean it is. Check it out.
It's got 4 doors and 6 cylinders, but it means a lot to its owner, so Nick is trying to get it started after a long time in storage. The Rambler Classic was the Toyota Camry of its time, a sensible mid-sized sedan. In '64, if you wanted solid, affordable transportation, you'd be looking at a Ford Fairlane, a Dodge Dart, a Chevy Chevelle, or this well-appointed family car. Although they were offered with engines up to a 270 horsepower V8, this one has a thrifty 90 horsepower inline 6. They can't all be HEMIs.
Okay, crank it over. Okay.
Yeah.
You got gas? Not strong.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I don't
It's
hear
good.
nothing.
You turned off the key?
Yes.
Okay.
The volume.
It should start. It came, we adjusted the points, it started and drove it for a couple of days, then it broke down again. So I got a new set of points, but I got spark, I got fuel coming through the filter, so before I go into the carburetor, let me pump it a few times and see what
Okay, let's
see
say
if it starts.
let's say you need to put oil. Where do you put the oil?
Let's see what happens, buddy. There we go. Told you. This is really old school. We got a 64 Rambler. Came in on towing. Check to see what the problem is. I see he's got a spark that comes and goes, so I know he had issues with the points. I finally found a set, so we're gonna take off the distributor cap, replace the points, and see if it starts. And a lot of mechanics nowadays don't know what these are. These are a set of points way before electronic ignition. There they are.
Nick is no stranger to cars with old ignition systems with points. But when he gets a good look at the ones in the Rambler, he realizes they're not the same as the new ones he'd found.
This is really old school. Can't get older than this. I mean, in my shop, 64. It's common, but then again, trying to find parts for these things every day, you don't find them that easy. You do eventually find them if you have the time. So let's see if we can get these points up. But I need them today to finish off and deliver the car today. But as you can see, we're gonna try cleaning them instead of replacing them. Wow. Let's clean them up a bit. Want to file them down just to get a nice flat tip and see if they work after that. Anyways, we're just doing this temporarily until we find a set of points. So since my client needs this car tonight, we're going to do a fast repair by filing down the tip of the points just to get them going. I don't care how everybody does it, but this is the way I do it. Actually, we're cleaning the tips because they're a little bit burnt on the tip. That looks pretty cool, eh? A little bit more. This is all in the 60s, 50s, the 40s, and the early 70s. And after that, became electronic ignition. And way after that, electronic fuel injection. But this is the time with carburetors and points. So this is what we got today. This is what we're going to deal with. I do it, of course, less and less often, because we've done a lot of conversions to electronic ignition from points. But this client wants it the way it is. So we're going to end up putting back the same points. So let's go put them on and see what happens. This is sweet, eh? 1964 Rambler, original except for the gas filter, oil filter, and battery. Everything else besides that, genuine. Look at that. Even the radiator cap is original. God, this is awesome. Alright, let's put him in and hopefully get started, because I can't wait to drive this car around the block. I once got a phone call last year, and a guy tells me, Nick, I got an old car, I need to replace the points. You know what those are? I told him, yeah, I know what they are. And you know what it was? It was a 71 HEMI Cuda with dual points. A HEMI Cuda with dual points. That is rare it comes here, man. An original owner, believe it or not. Anyways, job was done. We got it delivered. Okay, we go. I love working on these old cars. They're so simple. And it was, you know what's the fun part about it? People look at me and go, what the hell are you doing? Jesus. I said, very simple. Changing set of points or adjusting them or whatever, you know? And they go, whatever. They have no idea what I'm doing. Especially the new mechanics.
There aren't many guys like Nick who can still keep these old cars on the road, and even fewer who can do it when the replacement parts ordered aren't the right ones. But Nick wants his client to have his ride for the weekend, so he takes the time to patch the Rambler up and keep it rolling.
Oh, let's go for a road test. 64 American Motors. What a ride. This is the way it was in the 60s. Check that out, man. This is an American Motors. It does not even exist anymore. This is awesome, eh? 64 Rambler. Look at that. Man, there's no blind spot in these cars. Anywhere you look, all you see is windows. Nice.
It came in on the tow truck, but the Rambler will drive home with a happy customer behind the wheel. All thanks to a little know-how and Nick's garage.